That's just a terrible take, personally.
We got shellacked.
Welcome back, everyone, to the starting lineup. We're so happy to have you watching tonight's broadcast. I'm Elias Bonilla, joined with me two of the best, Brooke Thrower, Nicole Camacho, and we welcome you to this amazing episode of the starting lineup. We have a full show ready for y'all, a lot of different engaging sports to talk about. Brooke and Nicole, it's your first time on the starting lineup. It's such an amazing opportunity for both of you. Brooke, are you excited, and how's your semester going, and what are you ready for this amazing show?
I am more than excited to have this show happening. This is an amazing time for University of Arizona sports and sports in general, and my semester's been amazing. I'm happy to be back in Tucson and get back to things.
Yeah. And what about you, Nicole?
I'm so happy to be here hosting with all of you guys. My semester is going great. I do have 6 classes, so it's a bit heavy, but it's really good right now.
That's great to hear for both of you. And well, let's get straight into it, shall we? Let's jump straight into Arizona Roundtable, where we're going to head straight into the big topic. Men's basketball this season has been unbelievable to watch. It's been one of the greatest starts to Arizona basketball ever, and it's going to be an amazing season. And we have a ton of games to recap, including men's basketball versus Cincinnati. It was a very close game at first, and in the second half, it became a bit of a blowout. Alex Kastner, our amazing sports reporter, has more. Let's go straight to him.
The Stars were out tonight in Tucson as the Arizona Wildcats took down the Cincinnati Bearcats in a brutal Big 12 matchup. The Arizona Wildcats were going on a huge run towards the end to take down the Bearcats 77-51.
With people like NFL star running back Bijan Robinson and former Arizona quarterback Khalil Tate, it seemed that everyone was stopping by Tucson to see the Cats in action. And for a good reason, as coming into this game, the Cats were 18-0, looking to extend their win streak to 19-0. Even with Cincinnati having a down year, the Bearcats would still put up a fight, as to end the first half, Arizona would only lead 33-27. Cincinnati was able to keep it close due to great performances from senior Baba Miller and former overtime elite star Sean Abayev. But like with every game, this lead wouldn't last long for Cincinnati. Here's what head coach of the Bearcats, Wes Miller, said about what Arizona did best.
So they did a great job of, scoring off the drive and the pick and roll, and the seal with the duck in got us for some really easy ones. The offensive rebounding got us for some easy ones.
Arizona would go ahead and pull away this win as they outscored Cincinnati 44-24 in the second half, making the final score 77-51. Arizona will be led by Mo Krivas' 17 points and 9 rebounds, as well as Braden Burry's second double-double of the season. But to the players, this win was made possible by the fans. Here is what standout freshman Ivan Karchenkov had to say about the energy in McHale.
It's amazing. I love playing in front of them. I feel like they're, game chasers sometimes. They're just giving us extra energy.
This win would help the Cats continue their win streak, making it 19 in a row and stay on top of the rankings. For UATV3, I'm Alex Kastner.
What an amazing game that was, and it was especially a thriller in the first half. Brooke, what did you notice in that game? It was a really close first half, and then the second half, it kind of tapered off. What stuck out to you?
One thing about this basketball team is their stamina will go the distance. They truly have the longevity throughout these games, and it is really nice to see them be able to explode in that second half. When it may be a nail-biter that first half, that second half really does secure the win for them.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a team that has a lot of really solid players, and they really showcased that in this game. This is a team that had players that had standouts in respective categories. Mo Krivas had a phenomenal game. Karchenkov, Burry's point scorers, Burry's had rebounds. It was all across the board. Nicole, what stuck out for you?
Well, Cincinnati is mainly known for their defense. It's very good. And with the U of A, while watching it, I loved seeing the Wildcats putting in the work, working on their defense, and which worked because Cincinnati struggled in the offense, shooting just 30% from the field.
Absolutely. And Arizona scored 77 points, which is one of their lower totals, especially against Big 12 opponents, and they only held Cincinnati to 51 points.
Yep.
And no, this was 33-27 at the half. So Arizona just exploded in the first half. They really limited Cincinnati to shooting. And although it was a quiet game for Jaden Bradley, Toby Awaka, like I mentioned before, we had a lot of players that stepped up. Krivos had an amazing game, 9 rebounds, 17 points. It was just, I mean, it was just a great game overall. It really showcased all the strengths of Arizona. Another game that showcased Arizona's strength happened actually right after Cincinnati. It was their game against West Virginia, and Rachel Keatsman was able to go to the game and cover it.
In Tucson, Arizona, 21 isn't just the legal drinking age. That is the program's record for the best season start in history. With the Wildcats' win over West Virginia today, the team is just one game away from matching that record. Arizona showed the Mountaineers no mercy last Saturday night with a final score of 88-53. Arizona pulled ahead early on in the game, playing a perfectly balanced game of attack and defense, holding West Virginia to just 23 points compared to Arizona's 43 at halftime. With West Virginia shooting less than 30% in the first half, the team knew that they would have to change up their strategy in the second half if they wanted a chance to catch up with the Wildcats. Here's what Coach Tommy Lloyd told his team, anticipating West Virginia would come back strong.
I just told our guys, you made that happen in the first half. That just didn't happen. That wasn't the crowd. That was you guys. And so, you come out and recreate that again. And you got to make it happen. You make it happen with effort, energy, urgency, all those, coachisms.
Unfortunately for the Mountaineers, the Wildcats only turned up their defensive pressure in the second half, effectively shutting down their opponent's offensive plays. The Arizona freshmen dominated the game, with Braden Burries leading the team with 22 points, along with 7 assists and 0 turnovers, closely followed by Koa Pete with 17 points.
Braden has he has amazing instincts, for a young basketball player. Now I think he's layering that with some experience, where maybe he's understanding what's coming before it's happening a little bit more, and he's able to kind of manipulate certain situations, and he's responding to situations in the game as opposed to reacting.
With the game behind them, Arizona is looking to their next big game against BYU on the road, where they will see if they can extend their streak to 21 consecutive victories.
But we just got to focus on what we do as a team, what's gotten us this far. Just keep things that have, like coach has been harping on, rebounding, defense, staying true to who we are, in terms of our identity. So.
If you thought Arizona's performance against Cincinnati was amazing, this West Virginia performance was out of the water. This was a performance it was never a game. 45-23 at the half, 88-53 was the final score. West Virginia was playing catch up the entire time, and West Virginia is not even that bad of a school. They're putting up some decent performances against decent schools, but Arizona just looked dominant. It was one of their best performances. And Nicole, you actually have some stats that showcase how great of a win this was for Arizona.
Yeah, Arizona did incredible. Arizona shot 52%, hit 10 threes, and committed just 5 turnovers.
And those threes, a team, this team does not score threes. They don't shoot threes. They don't even attempt threes. So 10 threes is really solid. And, these are players that have been playing very well. Brooke, was there anybody that stood out to you that played really well in this game?
One amazing thing about this team is that there definitely isn't a singular star player. They have an amazing chemistry as a team, and they really are a collection of amazing players. This was definitely an amazing game for Krivos with a double-double, and West Virginia was really able to not be able to shoot in that second half, even though U of A is definitely not a shooting team. They were really able to take over in that second half.
Yeah, showcasing even more of that defense. Some great players, stood out. Toby Awaka, 14 rebounds, and just efficient guys as well. Anybody else that stood out to you? I know Braden Burries had a great game.
Yes, Braden Burries led the way with 22 points, with even 7 assists.
Yeah, and guys like Koa Pete. he's been quiet since the start of the season. Really, once we've gotten into Big 12 play, division play, he has slowed down, but it's more so an efficiency thing. Even this game, he had 17 points. He was 7 for 9 for field goals. It's really a standout performance from everyone. Interestingly, and I do want to point this out, one guy that isn't really playing so well is Anthony Del Orso. He's had a very disappointing season. Going into this year, Del Orso was the name. You ask anyone, who made up this Arizona team, it was Del Orso. That was one of the key players, and he's just been nowhere. He hasn't even been getting playing time. Even really no advantage of taking advantage of these blowout wins. Cincinnati, 0 for 5 in field goals, no rebounds. I mean, this is just and he played 14 minutes, so it's just a disappointing performance. But yeah, great stuff. And this BYU game was the most recent game that this Arizona team played. They won 86-83 out in Utah. I mean, it was a nail biter. Arizona was leading by 19 points at one point, and BYU came back. I mean, it was arguably the closest game all season Arizona has been to losing this game. Brooke, who was the standout of this game? Who won them this game?
There is an obvious answer, and it is Mr. Braden Burries. He did, in fact, help them out with that final game-winning block. U of A was up 84-83 in those last couple of seconds, and it would have been a very different game if Braden wasn't able to block that shot.
And Braden Burries has been stepping up, quite frankly. I mean, he has been such a phenomenal player. I mean, arguably one of the best freshman players in the Big 12. And I mean, he made a huge impact in this game. 29 points, 13 for 14 on free throws. Of course, that game-winning move in the final set that won them the game. Other guys that did well too. Jaden Bradley had a good game. It was Jaden Bradley and Braden Burries that really stood out because looking at the stat sheet here, Koa P, Krivas, Owaka, they were a little quiet, but either way, it was a phenomenal performance by Burries. Arizona has not been shooting. They're not a three-point team. But they do have a great defense. Nicole, what do you expect from them for the rest of the season?
Well, in February, it will be a hard stretch for the U of A Wildcats. They do have a game with Houston, which Houston is ranked number 6 in the nation, so it will be a tough game for the Wildcats.
Absolutely, and in that stretch, too, they play BYU again. They play Texas Tech. Kansas is thrown in there. This is a very, very difficult stretch in February, especially ramping up as we get into March Madness. So Arizona's defense playing really well. They need to shoot more threes. They're 4 for they only attempted 12 3-points in that BYU game. BYU 34. So if defense wins them games, but whether that will hold up, it remains to be seen. It's going to be a great rest of the season. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk about all other Arizona sports, like the amazing gymnastics team. Stay with us.
I'll be right there.
Thanks, cameraman. You're my hero.
Arizona gymnastics has been so solid. It's been an amazing season to watch. This is a team that has performed super, super well. And Simone Thomas got to cover their most recent matchup against Towson.
It was a big night in the McHale Center for the Arizona Gymcats after their win against Towson. After showing a strong front on all 4 events, the Gymcats delivered a performance their home crowd would be proud of. The McHale Center was electric Friday night as the Arizona Gymcats posted a season-high 196.8 to blow past Towson. The Cats were nearly perfect, sweeping almost every individual event title in a dominant home performance. The momentum built quickly on the balance beam where the Gymcats showed incredible composure. Freshman Tegan White made a splash in her collegiate debut with a 9.85, matched by Tirza Wise. but it was Abigail Martin who stole the show as the anchor, sticking a season-high 9-9 to claim the event win. So Gymcats kept the pressure on. We saw a stellar debut from Delaney Mead and a strong 9.85 from Sophie Deer to keep Arizona firmly in control. But the highlight of this rotation was Audrey Kronfeld, who stuck a 9-9 as the anchor to take home the individual bars title.
One goal for me actually was my 9-9 on bars, but I just did that tonight, so I'm maybe make the beam line up more consistently this year, so I feel like that's a really good goal for me.
Arizona saved their best for last on the floor exercise, posting a massive 49.45. Abigail Martin brought the crowd to their feet with a career high of 9.95, while Emma Strawn and Hillary Paleo both hit career best marks to pull away from the Tigers.
Beyond scores, I would say just staying consistent in the gym and also just being there for my teammates. I feel like that's always success in my definition, because this sport is such a team-oriented sport, and I love being there for my teammates, and I don't know, that's success in my eyes, and watching all my teammates do well too.
It was a total sweep for the Gymcats, with Martin punctuating the night by claiming the all-around title with a 39.45. That 196.8 marks a new season benchmarks for the Gymcats as they head into the heart of their conference schedule. I am Simone Thomas, and you're watching UATV3.
What an amazing matchup this was for Arizona. They did get the win over Towson, 196.8 points scored. Brooke, you were a gymnast. You were telling me, and so you know what this team is going through in terms of preparation, in terms of everything that goes into this. What has stood out to you about this Arizona team?
One thing that you can very much see in their matches is the amount of conditioning they did in the off season and all of the work they have put in, as well as something that can honestly not be taught in gymnastics, which is the artistry that you have in your floor routine, and even just like the small finishing touches that they have on their bar routine, on their vault, on anything like that. And so it's been really impressive to see them blossom into what they really could be over all these years.
Absolutely, and you know, gymnastics has so many different principles and routines that, you know, you're having to balance that and pick out who's really the best. I'm sure plays a lot into strategizing and going into those events, I'm sure. Now, the U of A gymnastics team has been solid. This was their second win of the season. They did win over Washington earlier this year. But in terms of this matchup, Nicole, who did well? Who were some of the top performers from this matchup?
Overall, the Wildcats swept all the event titles on that night. Abigail had a huge meet, won beam, floor, and the all-round. Martin scored a career high of a 9.95 on floor. Jessa won vault with a 9.85, and Aubrey took bars with a score of 9.90.
And those are great performances
Yes.
by all these gymnasts. And of course, we saw Kronfeld in the package with that amazing bar performance. This team has been solid. They haven't performed up to par all the time in their matchup with Denver and the Texas Women's University. They didn't do so hot, but this is a team that hopefully they're going to start building momentum. Their season just started,
Yes.
too, and this is a team that, especially as they go into division play, Big 12 teams, they have a lot of young talent. It's going to be really fun to watch, and a lot to keep in mind as the season goes on. That's going to do it for U of A sports. When we come back, we're going to have a breakdown of the NBA trade deadline. Stay with us. Welcome back. The NBA trade line is closer than ever, especially as teams are looking to ramp up towards the playoffs. February 5th, 2026 at 3 p.m. is officially when the NBA trade deadline goes through and is finished. So a lot of teams going to be making a lot of moves as teams try to position themselves better and others try to make a playoff run. There's a few players that we want to talk about today and examine how maybe the rest of their season is going to be spent and even in the future as well. The first player I want to get into is Ja Morant. Ja Morant is one of the top players for Memphis, and he has had an all right season. It's been a bit of lower odds as compared to his career. Field goal wise, 2025 to 2026, it's about 5% lower field goals, points per game, 3 less. His assists are up, but more or less it's been a down year for Ja Morant, and there has been struggles about whether he is going to stay with the Grizzlies. He's had some disagreements with ownership, but overall, it seems like the sentiment, especially as we've gotten closer to the trade deadline, is that he's going to end up staying with the Grizzlies. It's a bit surprising because with all this trade chatter, you would think that Ja Morant would be one of the top guys in this discussion. However, multiple sources have said that this is not really a player that's going to be moved. So much so that there have been multiple quotes like this one, quote, "The market is tough. I want to harp on this. The Memphis Grizzlies have made it clear to other teams they are very comfortable in keeping Ja Morant." You tell me. And Ja Morant has said the same thing. He has said that he is interested in staying with the Grizzlies. Quote, "I have a logo on my back, so that should say exactly what I want." That's what he said to the media. So it's clear that Ja Morant is going to probably stay with Memphis. It would take a lot to offer for the Grizzlies to move off their player, especially considering he is a big part of the team. He isn't the only one, though, that is in the discussion. Jonathan Kuminga from the Warriors has been a player that has been in discussion because the Warriors, frankly, are in a bit of a limbo. It's an odd situation for the Warriors. They're dependent on a 38-year-old Curry, and yes, they have a lot of other great players like Kuminga, but one has to realize that Jimmy Butler, with his injury, his ACL tear, they're kind of now dependent on Kuminga. A few months ago, we could talk about Kuminga and talk about this trade deadline because they could get away with giving him away. But now they're having to rely on Kuminga more. He has had a down year. He is shooting less. His assists are up, but it seems as though assists go up. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily scoring more points. And multiple headlines are actually saying that Kuminga, similar to Ja Morant, is going to end up staying with him. Now, Kuminga is coming off injury. Kuminga has been a unreliable player over the last few months. It's hard to say how he kind of factors into this team. And as the Warriors are kind of trying to figure out and plan out their future, that's what makes the NBA so unique, is that there are teams planning out all the way into the 2030s in terms of draft picks and trying to set up their team for the long run years from now with young talent. One has to wonder, how do they utilize Kuminga to get some younger talent? And there are a few teams that were interested in him a few months ago. The Kings, the Suns, they were interested, but ultimately the lowball offers didn't come to fruition. And there is various options where they do move off him. The most likely situation is that Kuminga is going to stay with the team through the rest of the season. And as we go into the offseason, that's when the chatter can begin to moving off of Kuminga and the Warriors can start exploring their options. For now, I would hold steady that he remains with Golden State. One of the next players I want to talk about, Michael Porter Jr., perhaps one of the most interesting players. He's on the Brooklyn Nets, one of the best players for one of the worst teams. He is a diamond in the rough for the Nets, and with that comes the opportunity to get a huge payout for both teams. The Nets can get a ton of draft picks, a ton of draft capital, and some young players, and a team can get Michael Porter Jr. He's having a career year, 24.9 points per game, 3 average per game. I mean, he is looking phenomenally. And this is a team, Michael Porter Jr. is one of the best forwards in the NBA right now, and he's one of the best forwards on the free agency side that could be moved. There is one team I do like that could perhaps try to get Michael Porter Jr., and that's the Detroit Pistons. The Pistons look phenomenal. They're one of the best defensive teams in the NBA right now, second to only the Thunder if you look at defensive rankings. And they're leading the Eastern Conference. I mean, if you would have told me a few years ago that the Pistons of all teams were leading the Eastern Conference, any person who said that would have been scoffed at. But this is a new NBA, and the Pistons are looking to get new talent and get talent that could pair up with some of their existing players. Duncan Robinson with Michael Porter Jr. would be phenomenal. This is a perfect fit. However, it's all about what the Pistons can offer the Nets for the Nets to move off one of their top players. Now, here's the situation. There are players that the Nets perhaps would like and be interested in. However, it's going to be interesting. Ivy, for example, is a great young talent that could pair well with Igor Demin. And as we move into this sort of new NBA, really anybody can move up. And it's really provided a big opportunity for teams like the Nets to start exploring options to get some dynamic players in this. Because really, if you're the Nets, you have to figure something out. Look at some of these teams towards the bottom. It seems like their futures are kind of locked up. The Pelicans have no future, for example. The Bucks are on the downfall. So a team like the Nets, who can utilize perhaps an oftentimes uncertain Eastern Conference, it's going to be interesting. I would definitely watch Michael Porter Jr. to be on the move as we near that trade deadline. The final NBA player, though, I want to talk about. Everybody's going to be talking about him. Giannis Antetokounmpo for the Bucks has been one of the top people, and as reports have come out, it is clear that the Bucks want to move off Giannis. And why is that? Well, Giannis is one of the top players in the NBA. There is some downsides, though. He's 31. He is older, injury prone. It's hard to say what a team would be willing to offer Giannis. And I say that because lately the NBA has had some really odd trades. That Trae Young trade, for example, was very interesting in terms of trade value. So it's very wide ranging on what Giannis's true value is. He's having a great year. Look at that shooting percentage, 64.5, points per game, 28. I mean, this is one of the top players in the NBA. There's no question about it. However, the Bucks are in a bit of an interesting situation. I'll make the argument that the Bucks absolutely need to completely rebuild. This is a team. This is not the Bucks team that was in the finals a few years ago. This is a Bucks team that is on the downfall. They don't have much draft capital. They've fallen from grace. Giannis is older. Damian Lillard is hurt. Who else do they have? Miles Turner, Bobby Portis. These are not guys that are going to be game changers if they want any chance to move up in the Eastern Conference. I mean, this is an NBA right now for the Bucks where they're potentially going to get passed by the Charlotte Hornets of all teams in the Eastern Conference. The Bucks are absolutely on the downfall, and really one of their only last gambits is to move off Giannis. And if Giannis wants to move off, I see it as perfect opportunity. There's a few teams that could get Giannis. I see 3 teams that are currently on the top. Now, the Spurs, the Rockets, keep them in mind, but I like 3 teams, and that's the Knicks, the Warriors, and the Heat. Now, listen, the Knicks, it's a bit of an unlikely situation right now. They're probably not going to move off of Karl Anthony Towns, and this is a team that is, kind of made some trades over the last few years. Of course, for McCall Bridges, for example, or Onunobi, it's those alternate paths to kind of improve that defense. Whether they get Giannis or not, it's a bit of a situation that's going to be interesting. I personally like the Warriors to be that top team. Yes, the casual NBA player will say Giannis and Curry, what an amazing duo that would be. However, the Warriors, they have a lot of control on what they want to do. They have a lot of future first round picks. They could potentially get Jonathan Kuminga, who we just talked about. This is a trade which could potentially pair up Draymond Green with some help. With be honest, I like this opportunity a lot. The Warriors could potentially benefit from someone to kind of a veteran, but at the same time a top player to kind of lead them over the next few years. And for the Heat, they don't have that much draft capital to trade as Golden State does. Actually, they're out of a 2027 first round pick. However, they do have some talent that perhaps the Bucks would be interested in. Kella Ware and Tyler Hero have been very, very solid. I look to them to be that young talent perhaps the Bucks are searching for. They don't have a lot of draft picks though. So, like I said, look out for the Warriors to be the team that makes the move for Giannis. However, it's all up to speculation because these reports are coming out day to day. You're going to want to keep up to date every single day, every single hour for what could be changing in the NBA as of now. So that trade deadline, February 5th, keep a lookout. Well, when we come back, we're going to wrap up the show and give thanks to all the amazing people in the sports industry. Stay with us. Before we head out tonight, let's give an opportunity to share some shout outs for some special people. Brooke, let's start with you. Who do you want to shout out and give a special thanks to?
I wanted to shout out all the dancers that just competed in the UDA National Championships this past week. More specifically, Minnesota for winning the pom and jazz category with a full sweep, and then University of Nevada, Las Vegas with their hip-hop win against the LSU Tiger Girls, who have been a favorite for the past 5 years.
That's phenomenal. And Nicole, who would you like to give a shout out?
I would love to give a shout out to the men's basketball team here at the U of A. They are playing versus the Sun Devils this Saturday, so I'm really looking forward to that. It is our rivalry school, so I'm really excited.
And the U of A basketball, both men and women's play ASU. Women's play ASU Wednesday night, and Saturday they will take on the men's team. Well, that's all we have for you today. Make sure to check out all our social media pages, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and also tune in to Monday's Wildcast. It's going to be an absolutely amazing show there. Once again, I'm Elias Bonilla, joined with me, Nicole Camacho, Brooke Thrower. Have a great night, Wildcats, and make sure to bear down.